Hello students, today we will be discussing about lymphatic system. So, we are discussing about lymphatic system. Now the lymphatic system, it plays a vital supporting role to both the cardiovascular and the immune system. So it plays a supporting role to both cardiovascular and immune systems. And what does this lymphatic system contain? It contains the lymph. And what is this lymph? Lymph is a watery solution. So this will not contain the red blood cells. So the lymph does not have red blood cells. Why? Because red blood cells are too large to pass through the capillary membrane. So these are too large to pass through the capillary membrane. So what do we know till now? That lymphatic system plays a supporting role in both the cardiovascular and immune system, and it has lymph. Lymph is nothing but a watery solution that will not contain red blood cells because red blood cells are too large to pass through the capillary membrane. Now we will talk about lymph nodes. So what are these lymph nodes? They are nothing but checkpoints that will monitor and cleanse the lymph as it filters through. So these are checkpoints that will monitor and cleanse the lymph as it filters through. So this is the function of the lymph nodes. Now there are some basic terms that we have used, that is the lymph nodes. Then we have used the word lymph. Then we'll further be using lymph vessels, lymph capillaries. But what is this lymph and how is the lymph made? That is a major question. Now you can see these are our arteries. This is our vein. Here we have the cells. These are our cells. This is the capillary. And this green color are the lymph capillaries. Now we have seen the capillary bed. The lymph capillaries, arteries, veins. Arteries will form the arterioles. Veins will form the venules. And these capillary beds are where the exchange of nutrients take place. Or we can rather say transfer of nutrients. So let's change it to transfer of nutrients. And along with nutrients, we have waste also. Now arteries are bringing the blood. So these will transfer it to the arterioles, and now the blood pressure will force the plasma out of the arterial end of the capillaries into the interstitial fluid, that is between the cells of whatever tissue we are happening to be in. So what does it mean? Arteries have been carrying the blood, they pass it to the arterioles, and the blood pressure, because of the blood pressure, it will force the plasma. So plasma is being forced out of the capillaries to the interstitial fluid, from arteries to arterioles, capillaries in the arteriole end, and then the plasma is being forced out. And most of the fluid will get drawn right back into the capillaries on the venous end because of the osmotic pressure, but some of it will be left behind. So we can say that out of 20 liters that is being forced out through the arteriole end, so this much liter is being forced out. Okay, and now most of it will be collected by the capillaries at the venous end. So how much will be collected? 17 liters will be collected by the capillaries at the venous end. Now we have got the 3 liters remaining. This 3 liter is what will be collected by the lymph capillaries. So without wasting a minute, this 3 liters will be collected by the lymph capillaries that you see over here. And once this fluid is inside these lymph capillaries, we can call it lymph. So there will be official naming of this fluid as lymph. Now these lymphatic capillaries, they are present all over our body. But they are notably absent from bones, bone marrow, teeth, and whole of CNS, that is the central nervous system, which has its own special drainage system. So it is not there in the CNS because it is having its own special drainage system. Now let's talk about the lymph capillaries or lymphatic capillaries in detail. So we are talking now about the lymphatic capillaries. So these lymphatic capillaries, they are made up of loose overlapping endothelial cells. So they are made up of loose overlapping endothelial cells. And these will form flap-like valves that will only open in one direction. So it will be forming little flap-like valves that will only open in one direction. We have come back to our diagram. We have the arteries over here, the veins, the arterioles, the venules, the lymphatic capillaries, and now we will see the lymphatic capillaries in magnified view. Now here is the magnified view of our lymphatic capillary, and this that you can see, this part is the endothelial cells. Okay, and these are the valves that you can see over here. This portion is the valves. This thing, these are our valves, and these valves, they open only in one direction. So they open in one direction. And now why do they open only in one direction? What is the reason that they do not open in both the direction? This is because so that the lymph fluid does not leak back into the interstitial space. So why is this? So that the lymph fluid does not leak back into the interstitial space. So this is the reason why these flaps, they open only in one direction. So when the pressure in the interstitial space, it increases than the pressure inside the lymphatic capillary, the flap will push open and it will take in the fluid to relieve the pressure. And once it is inside a lymphatic capillary, we can officially call it a lymph. Now from the lymph capillaries, it will be traveling to the lymph vessels, from the lymph vessels to larger trunks, then one of the two big ducts that we are having. Then it will feed back into the lowest pressure area of the circulatory system. So from the lymph capillaries to the lymph vessels, from the lymph vessels to the trunks, larger trunks, right, from the larger trunks into one of the two big ducts that we are having, and that will feed back into the lowest pressure area of the circulatory system. So then it will return back to the circulatory system. Now we have just discussed about the lymph capillaries, an overview of the lymph node. We have not discussed the function of the lymph node, and we have also discussed how the fluid becomes the lymph. Now let's take an example, okay? So suppose we have gone to an airport, okay? So this is our airport, and we have made a security line, right? And this is the security line. We are moving forward and there are some security guards. They are doubtful about some passengers. So those passengers will be told to form another line and they will be undergoing a deep checkup. So that is what lymph does. So lymph, they will pass through the lymphatic capillaries, lymph vessels, to the lymph nodes, and here the special checking comes up. So the lymph nodes will do the special checking or the special filtering of this lymph, and then it will be passing again to our circulatory system. This is a basic overview of it, but we will be talking about this in detail in our next episodes. Hope you have understood the topic clearly.